But what I'm really here for tonight is a bit of talk about this gentleman. Again, I am so proud of him, and I respect him, and I admire him a lot. I know what his journey has been an amazing journey, and I can't say enough good things about him. I love him and respect him as a man, as a father, and a business owner, and he's doing things that I didn't have the guts to do. So if you'd all give me a round of applause for Mr. Rich Rice.
Hey, hi.
Hi. We're matching hats.
We are.
Yeah.
My camo one fell out of the car in Solving, and I didn't realize it until like an hour later. And so now I'm down to the black one. You're right, I'm nervous today too. How's everybody doing?
Yeah. I know, big event, big things going on here. We'll kind of get into that too. And sorry, I have older eyes. I have to do this. Sorry about that. But yeah, I'm really excited here. So I want to just kind of jump into this real quick.
Sure.
So let's, first of all, in the last week, you do any other deal, buy anything else? Every time I turn around, you're buying something.
This screen.
Okay.
Actually, no, I bought that 2 months ago. It was, it took a little while to get here from China. So.
Okay. All right.
But no, I had a couple of, well, one kind of went in limbo and one's fell through, but I did supposedly, I haven't actually seen the docs yet, but I did get clear to close on a refi that's been going on since March today. So that was a win.
Hey, that's a win, right? A win's a win.
Yeah.
Take it when you
I'm
get
super excited to close that one because I thought we were going to get the money back to my lender 2 months ago. And I need our money for other deals. So it's been annoyingly stubborn to get that one closed. So
yeah, sometimes you have those. Anyone have a deal that just doesn't go exactly the way you thought it would? Who has too many of those deals?
Sometimes. They
Yeah.
seem to come in waves. It doesn't rains and pours, right?
Rains and pours, absolutely. But look, like I said, I want to jump in here. So look, before the fire center, before the, hundreds of deals, who was Rich Rice, and how'd you get into real estate?
Wow. Yeah, I don't even know that guy anymore, to be honest with you. That seems like such a lifetime ago and it was only 9 years ago that I wasn't in real estate. I was living in Arizona at the time. I was in a second career. I did one career, as many of you know. I worked for a company called James Hardie for a long time, the people that make Hardie Backer. I did really well right out of high school. I got that job like 6 months out of high school and worked for them all the way through college and did really well, moved up, and then pretty much had a falling out with management and walked away from that entire career, that entire industry, and took a break, and then took a break for a little bit too long. And people were telling me you better get back to work, they're gonna make you start over. I was like, what? Me? No way. And so then when I tried to go back in, it was, and we were talking about real estate back then too. He had tried to get me to come into a deal, and the return wasn't enough. So I said no. And at the time, you guys had only been doing it for like a couple years maybe at that point, and we all thought you were crazy still. So, so I went back into a different position, a different industry, and same kind of story. Was doing really well at that for a while. Got bored, and bounced around to a few different companies, and then just realized I hated being on the phone for 10 hours a day. And I was pretty much just like living to work instead of the other way around. And that's when you recently quit your jobs to go into real estate. You guys were wanting to do, basically they were wanting to grow their business and grow their company, but they didn't want to just bring someone in and show them someone off the street and show them everything that you guys knew at the time. And it actually started out, so I moved back to California, joined forces with them, and I pretty much started over. I mean, when I moved back here, I wrote out the end of my lease at my apartment, and I'd been unemployed for like 6 months at that point, and pretty much just threw it all into what we were going to do, and it was awesome. It was terrifying, but it was, it was really cool. And I never thought I'd be sitting here. That's for
Right.
sure.
Well, I remember that as well, that conversation. I remember being in our office just talking like, well, you're not coming out helping mom and dad. We're going to go get something off the ground. Let's build something together. And because you have so many skills that I don't have. And even though we were a little ahead of you in real estate, there were so many things we're just winging it, and it worked. But so that's why action will be inaction, even if it's imperfect. Imperfect action will beat the inaction every time. Instead of waiting one day for something, you just go do it and figure out how you do it. So I remember that. And again, how many of you would go still move out of state, go move to another state and start over again? I grew up not far from here, you know what I mean? So some of you have that guts. That's just,
Good one's ready.
Yeah, good one's ready. He's like, yeah, let me. But you did that, and we started building something special, and literally here we are, like poof, right?
Yeah, and it started out like really. I mean, how it started and how it ended was very different. Because originally, you guys had I was coming in as the salesperson, and I was going to build up talk to sellers and do all that and go drum up more business, and that was going to be my role, right? And then once we got rolling, I think at one point I just, you were still managing rehabs and all of that stuff, and I could see that you really weren't enjoying it all that much, just like picking out colors and material and doing all that stuff. And not that you weren't doing well at it, but you just didn't really like it. And to be honest, I was sick of talking. I was sick of being in a sales role for 10 years. And at one time I was like, I don't remember. I think it was me, but I was just like, why don't I run the rehabs and you go talk to the sellers? And he was like, all right. And then,
Yep.
yeah, it ended up working out really well. So
It did, and then still, again, later, this kind of goes to this. It might not be, but I was going to say, tell us about your first deal back then, because if I remember right, what I'm thinking we were out of town on a particular thing, so it might not be what you remember, but tell me what your first deal you could.
Well, I guess the first deal we did together was it was Jupiter up in Victorville. That was the first one I came in and kind of started learning on. You guys were already pretty far ahead in that one. But I remember walking at the end of that and walking the rehab afterwards. And I think that's when, what were your contractors at the time became our contractors, and then some of them became my contractors. At the time, I think that first time I walked, they were like, this is the guy we got to work for. Because I walked in, I was like, what's that? What's that? Why does it look like that? And I was being very picky. And I think I remember and this is in Victorville. Okay, it's not like it was like in Beverly Hills. And if some of you watch that mic next to that. The mics or the speaker system got all reset and retuned also. So if I sound different, I'm not as flat today. If anybody noticed. So I was in Victorville, and I walked in and just I'd been in construction. I grew up in a cabinet company and remodeling company and whatnot. And I just started pointing out stuff, and then. But my first deal, what you're asking, so it's funny because it was like the first one, and then it became kind of a recurring scene. Every time Evan left town, to go on a motorcycle trip or whatever, we get a lead would call in, and it ended up being that this lead ended up just every time that happened, we made a lot of money. So we started getting to the point hey, we don't have a deal, go out of town. Yeah. Because I do really have a pretty well-rounded sales education from multiple companies, and even though it's you're not when I tell you guys you're not selling anything when you're knocking on the door, you're not trying to sell people something. The processes that go into all of this when you're talking to sellers, and a lot of that is sales. So for those of you who's taking Fire Fast in here. Yeah. So a lot of you were, went through some of that sales training I tried to pass on. And if you worked with me on stuff and, I try and be fair to everybody, but there's a lot of psychology behind this stuff. So, sorry, to answer your question. First deal, are you talking about, Long Beach? And where we got paid $30,000 to not buy a house?
Yep, that's one.
Okay.
We could talk about that one.
Yeah, long story short, the guy emailed me, or I don't even remember he called in, got a hold of us somehow, and I did it over email. I never talked to the guy, and he, I negotiated the deal with him, and blah blah blah, and we got escrow open, and everything done, and then he tried to come back and say, I need to take a break, or I need to pause this, or whatever, and he went and opened up another escrow to try and sell it to somebody else, and we were wholesaling it, so we're buying it from this wholesaler and then wholesaling it again. It was like this whole cluster, and we got tipped off. We got tipped off from the person we were selling it to. The person we were selling it to was the friend of the person that this guy was trying to sell it to now. And so he called us. He's like, "Isn't this your house?" "Yeah, that's my house." Like, what? Wait, I have an escrow open. Wait, I have an escrow open. And then we all compared notes and then contacted the escrow companies and they basically nailed this guy to the wall. And our thing was, you want to pay us $30,000, we'll walk away. So he paid us $30,000. We paid 10 to our person that we were going to wholesale it to because they were out of a deal now. So they made 10 for not buying a house. We made 20, and then people went and did their other things. Right. So that was a fun one. I still like to tell people. I nonchalantly tell that story when someone's trying to screw me over. Right. So and Josh still in here? No, Josh took off. We're in one right now. Hey, there he is. Yeah, we're trying to. Someone's trying to pull that right now, and we're just like, no, that's all right, dude. We'll get paid. Don't worry.
Right.
So
no, I
which one were you thinking?
No, that's one of them. There's a lot of times you could go the first time that you did everything, and then first time you got the deal, and there was but that was the one I was thinking of because remember we were gone, and I'm like, you got what? What are we going to make? Oh, this is great. And then when it went sideways, we kept it, and we were.
Hey, Liliana, can we just drop the fader a little bit on Evan's mic? Yeah. He's on one.
So, but that was one of the things where it was like, did a great job. Do that again. Yep. And so absolutely. How did you feel doing that one when we got it signed?
That was fantastic. I mean, when we got that check, I was like, all right, it was cool. But I mean, we had worked out a way that the way that we structured everything, and I was very much, even though it wasn't my name on the deed, that I was very heavily tied to the outcome of the deals. So, I was, whether it was dealing with the contractors or anybody else, I mean, I was fighting for every penny, right. along the way. So,
right. We had a lot of first deals. Richard once, I think you had some time, you just started calling. He looked up all the cash buyers in Crestline and just started calling people and seeing if any of them would lend money. Mm-hmm. And then you came across, that was one of our most profitable deals.
That was our best flip for years.
Go ahead and explain that.
I just looked up a cash buyer list and I was making phone calls. I think I sent emails too. And this lady called us. She had bought a house in Crestline cash, and she had also still had her house in Irvine. It was a mobile home in a park, but it's like kind of it was like a co-op park where they everybody owned like part of the. It wasn't like that they owned the land, but they kind of did. It was a weird thing, and it was a very, very strict park. And she was 70 years old, 75 years old, something like that. She had gutted the house in Irvine, not gutted, but she had stripped all the cabinets, flooring, everything out. And she had ordered all the flooring herself. And she was, the 75-year-old woman was going to lay all the new laminate flooring, and put in her own kitchen. And she thought it was only going to take her a few months. And we were like, what?
and she started having back issues, knee issues.
Yeah,
surgeries.
I would have that if I was trying to do that. So, yeah. And we ended up partnering with her. which is now, we didn't call it that when we did it. It was what people are calling
Novation.
a novation now. And so we ended up doing that with her, and then and we got it done. We got it all done, and I think we made like, I don't know, like 68,000 and some change, I think, on that. And that for a while was the best one. And then we kept in contact with her for a little while, and I don't know
Her
what
name was
happened to her.
Jane, if I remember right.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Her dad was a lawyer, so there couldn't be one little thing. She had us rewriting almost every document, and we just would go meet her at the cafe at Top Town, and we'd spend an hour and let her until she was comfortable with it. She just didn't like the verbiage. Therefore versus there, what, I mean, literally like that. Okay. And we just kept making the modifications, but
Yep.
yeah, it was great on that. But that's why I said we could keep going on what's the first deal on multiple layers there. Because I didn't tell you to do that. You went and just did it.
Yeah.
You just went, I got time, and just started doing what was necessary.
Yeah.
Again,
Well,
versus
there's so
waiting
much
to be
too
told.
that we did over the years that, when it was small and we didn't, we were doing 2 or 3 at a time, where, we would sit down and talk about like every decision. We would all, me, him, and my mom would sit down, and, sometimes me and him would be up until 2 a.m, figuring out, logos and marketing stuff. And, but we used to sit down, like, for every deal, we'd make like every decision together about like what color it was going to be, what the floor was going to be, like what we were going to list it for. If we got a request for repairs, we'd sit down and decide like what it all was. And at a certain point, I'm sure you guys remember this, at a certain point I was like, this is fun. I love doing this, but like, we got 12 of these things going on now. Like, we all need to start siloing a little bit and just like, you handle your stuff, I'll handle mine. Otherwise we're going to be stuck in this, like, trying to have this conversation on every little thing. But
Yeah.
I do miss those conversations.
Well, we should just
Things were a lot simpler back then.
Yeah, we could just still meet and just talk about your stuff and give you our thoughts. Just so you know, because a lot of them don't know, is the main thing is several years ago, like 3 years ago, we separated our businesses. So Rich has been doing,
I think it was 4 now.
is it 4 years? It's like 4 years ago. So we did a lot together. Love that time, but he was want to do so many more things that either I didn't want to do, I didn't understand. And we're just different places in our real estate business at the time. And it was just time. It was overdue, actually. We were holding them back. And so that's a lot of that was going on. I was slowing down not too long ago when I'm like, I'm not really buying anything. I might buy one. And he's like, I bought like 6 this week. And I'm, okay, you keep doing that. So again, just different places. So some things, great while lasted, you got to move on.
Yep.
But well, look, real quick, what has been your biggest investing mistake?
My biggest investing mistake?
Yes.
Probably hands down trying to do a flip in Lake Arrowhead when
Okay.
I should have known better.
Okay.
So, a lot of you, in the room probably know about my flip up in Lake Arrowhead, where my bread and butter and that we started doing together, and then I kept going more and more into it, was Crestline. Doing $200,000-$300,000 entry level houses in Crestline, and you do 100 of those, and something pops up in Lake Arrowhead on a house that literally has like everything that you could want, and